Welcome to Inside ChampCar, your weekly deep dive into the world of grassroots endurance racing. I'm your host, Bill Strong, and today's episode is a special one. We're joined by AJ and Rebecca Jackson from the Follow On Mission, a nonprofit that's changing lives by giving combat veterans and first responders a second chance at purpose, adrenaline, and connection through endurance racing. AJ is a retired U.S. Army Special Forces veteran and the founder of this incredible organization that brings adrenaline therapy to those battling PTSD and depression. We're going to talk about how racing plays a vital role in healing, how their team got started, and the impact they're making on and off the track. Strap in. This is going to be this one's got heart, horsepower, and mission worth cheering for. AJ, Rebecca, how are you guys today?
Well, Bill, good afternoon. Rebecca just got home from work. I'm retired, so my day went well. How was your day go, Brad?
I
My day's
just
great, and it's
yeah, and I just
even
got
better
home.
now that I get to talk to Bill.
Oh, there we go. I sorry, I thought that question was never mind. I'll figure
It's
this
Oh,
out.
okay.
It's
yeah,
okay.
All
My
Bill.
wife
How
just
that
got
was,
home too. My wife has to work.
yeah, that was rhetorical. How was your day, Bill?
Well, as we talked earlier, I got locked in my house. 911 saved me, but hey, that's a different story for a different show.
Yeah.
Hey, so AJ, tell us a little about your military background and what led you to start the follow-on mission.
Well, at the end of my high school career, military-wise, parents made it very obvious that they were not going to help me with college. I was sitting in study hall, and a buddy of mine says, "What do you really want to do?" And I said, "Well, you know what? I think I want to fly." And he said, "Why don't you talk to a recruiter?" So I left high school study hall at that very moment, went to the recruiter, and got the military process started. Originally wound up in the Air Force. I flew briefly as a B 52 tail gunner.
Wait,
Time in
wait,
the
wait, wait, wait. B-52
Yeah, yeah,
still have tail guns?
that was a thing. That was the end of the Cold War. A little thing called the Grand-Brudman Strength Reduction Act took effect, and by '91, other than the guys flying in the Gulf War, all the B 52 tail gunners were gone. So that was a short lived career. Spent some time in the Guard, the reserves, eventually wound up in a 3rd Special Forces Group in Afghanistan. Well, there's other places, but Afghanistan was her primary place of work at the time. So he spent about 19 years in Special Forces, retired in, let's see, 3 years ago now, 2022. Um,
Not all
During
that
this
long ago,
period,
actually.
no, 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 retirement wasn't that long. Follow-on mission's a couple years older than that, actually. But yeah, at the end of my military career, when I wasn't doing the cool guy stuff anymore. I was an instructor. PTSD and depression really started to take hold. And my outlet at the time, I'd always been into athletics, either pure athletics, racing a bicycle, or racing a motorcycle. Just the war injuries had taken the athletic aspect away from me. I couldn't race a motorcycle, couldn't ride a motorcycle, and definitely couldn't race anything. So, just kind of in an act of desperation to find me an outlet, Rebecca entered me into a champ car race with was Battle Scarred Motorsports at the time.
Ah,
Yep, and I was down at Coda, down in
yeah, I
Texas.
remember that.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it was. Got out there and let's see, it was Tom Webb's Pinto wagon. Tom Webb donated
Yep.
at the time. Same Pinto wagon Charlie Adams is driving now or racing now.
The Super
Uh,
Pinto.
yeah,
Yeah.
out there in a '74, nearly bone stock '74 Pinto wagon at Coda of all places. And I think Rebecca and the rest of my family noticed a pretty well, and everybody around us noticed a pretty significant improvement in my quality of life. What do you think, Reb?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the very first day, practice is practice, and you learn the track, learn the car. But Saturday, after his first stint in the car, the grin on his face was something that I hadn't seen in several years. So I knew, at least in that moment, that it made a difference. And then after the second day, there was a lasting effect to it. We could really see some changes in his thought processes and in how he was handling stress and other things in his life. So yeah,
There's a
It was,
big change. So
yeah,
you keep mentioning this thing called adrenaline therapy. What is
yeah.
adrenaline therapy, and how did you discover its potential for helping veterans and first responders?
It was Bill. It was what adrenaline therapy is. It's recreating physiologically the same conditions seen in combat, raising those stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline for an extended period of time. And another thing you're doing is most most boys and girls with PTSD suffer from something called hypervigilance. That's counting everyone around you. It's extreme situational awareness. You're aware of more than your brain can comfortably process. Once you get in a race car, that hypervigilance just turns back into really good situational awareness. Um, and this, it doesn't sound possible, but having these hormones and that hypervigilance put to work in a recreational environment, once it's over, is very, very relaxing.
It just lets them reacclimate to adrenaline in a positive way instead
Right.
of negative.
Yeah.
And I think once you're behind the wheel of that race car, you can't think of anything else. You're not looking for the threats. You're not looking for the nearest exit, those kinds of things. What you're looking at is you're looking in your mirrors, you're seeing who's coming up behind you, you're seeing your opportunities to pass somebody. You're so focused in on the car and the driving that you cannot let in the fear, the anxiety, and the anger that's seen, as a result of combat.
So basically, putting all that you learned in combat situation into a friendly environment.
Yes.
Yeah, both the conscious and unconscious, the parasympathetic reactions, and um, there's an organization. What's Luke's
Track heroes.
Track Heroes? Yeah, Track Heroes has commissioned a tremendous amount of work into what's experienced in the car and how it helps to reprogram the parasympathetic nervous response. And I doubt that there's any other non-traditional therapies right now that have had as much professional as much professional research put into it as this adrenaline therapy aspect, the aspect of the car and how it helps to the time in the car reprograms the parasympathetic response that was destroyed in combat.
Right.
Bill, the other really cool thing about it is we just knew anecdotally what it did for AJ, and
Right.
that's why we started the follow on mission. But to see the science come in behind it is just been phenomenal. They're also discovering very quickly that although some other activities can bring about some help and some relief, like doing the high performance driving experiences and um, you see like shooting events and
Yeah.
hunting events and things like that. There is something about that 90 minutes to 2 hours in a race car that extended length of time is making a huge difference.
Now, Rebecca, what role do you play in the organization and the race team?
It would not be role singular. It is definitely
Roles.
plural. I do everything I come from a finance background, so I take care of our books and things like that. But there's things that AJ needs help with the car, and a lot of times I'm just that person behind the wrench in the car. Anything from fabrication. AJ is the brains behind the car. I mean, if anybody's seen Athena, the everything that had to go behind her, it's his brainchild. But I was the hands-on on a lot of it. There's a lot of places that he couldn't crawl into and climb under and those kinds of things. And then with the website, I help to vet the veterans that reach out to us through the website or through other organizations. And we just try to get them, we try to make contact about 6 weeks before a race to try to get them acclimated to the team, make introductions,
Right.
and kind of bring them into the fold.
Yeah, Bill. As far as like the social media, I'm kind of the social media face of the follow-on mission, the virtual uh, front person, but the blood and guts real person dealing with actually face-to-face individuals is Rebecca.
And
Uh,
and
We got a good
she's
program.
probably a lot more relaxing, when these guys talk to her than talking to you, with your rough and grumble voice.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I can be hard to understand on a phone call. That's for sure. And a little gravelly sounding.
Yeah.
At present, my voice doesn't necessarily match my demeanor or face, but I'm smiling when I talk.
Well, what are some of the biggest challenges that combat veterans and first responders face when returning to civilian life?
Initially, it's just the shock of what civilian life is like. As far as to a combat veteran, civilian life doesn't look like it has any purpose or structure,
Right.
and it takes a while to adjust it. Yeah, that it's all there. It's just it's not in your face. Um, it's your structure and purpose of civilian life that are the undertones. It's not in your face in a everyday guidance. The second biggest thing is finding a community, linking up with like-minded people. Um, there is, every community has combat veterans in it. Or I'll say, I'm sure there's, some very small, but virtually every community has combat veterans. It's finding those veterans that are similar to you, that have similar experience, that can be an issue for folks. That comes with time. And the third thing is, once the dark things really start to take hold of you psychologically, is finding an outlet, someplace to put those, something to do with them, and turn them back into a positive, like you did when you were, in an infantry squad, or
Right.
an Air Force team or Special Forces team.
Yeah. So I was in the Air Force, but I was in the Air Force in a time when, you know, it, it really was not wartime. The 80s was kind of a
Yeah,
fun, hey, let's play Air Force games and, play pinochle a lot in the bomb dump
yeah.
and, have good times. But nowadays it's way different for these troops. I mean, this is some serious shit they're going through. Um, so how do you identify and connect with the veterans and first responders who participate in your program?
I'm going to say roughly half of the boys and girls that have joined us have come from other veterans organizations, track event organizations. Say track day, not racing, but more track day
Right.
focused organizations. Track heroes, out of South Carolina, being a huge contributor as far as sharing information and names with us. We do get some that just do not hear about us word of mouth. Our We have had a couple, just a blind search on the internet looking for something like this, have found our website and self-nominated, and we always encourage that. If you don't know somebody within the organization or somebody that's been involved with us, um, but you have found us, go to that website and fill out a self-nomination. You can nominate yourself.
Oh,
There's
cool.
nothing wrong with that. We encourage it.
So, all right. So I've been nominated. I'm going to go hang out with you guys. Walk us through what a typical race weekend looks like for one of your participants.
Yeah, actually, our race weekend actually starts about 6 weeks out. At 6 weeks out, we've got the driver roster solidified, and at this point, we begin our virtual training program, and that is, we do a lot of face to face. We do Zoom calls, a lot of telephone calls, a lot of text, and a lot of YouTube. Vortex of Danger being a huge video that we
Mhm.
promote greatly. Everybody has to watch that, as well as the new to Champ Car meeting on YouTube. Once that's knocked out, 2 weeks out, we get everybody together for a team Zoom call, and this lets everybody get a put a face with the name and see them on the computer screen, and get a feel for the actual dynamic of how everybody interacts with everyone else. At this time,
Yeah, and usually about that time or shortly before, we also start a chat, a signal chat amongst everybody, and it's pretty humorous to see how quickly the guys start talking smack to each other. Typical military
yeah,
stuff. So it's
Yeah.
it, it's fun, and the guys have an opportunity to connect before they actually get to meet
yeah.
each other in person.
Yeah, there's definitely a pecking order. Of course, it's Army Special Forces first, all Army second. Yeah, Marine Corps. Yeah, Marine Corps, and then of course Air Force last,
Well,
unless there's a Navy person there. And the
well,
Navy personnel, that's just barely qualifies to join our
what
organization.
do you do with the Space Command guys? Because you're going to have a few of those soon.
Yeah, I hope
I'm
so.
kind of anxious to get a Space
Yeah,
Command person. So
yeah,
yeah,
that'll
that'd be
give that'll
awesome.
give the Navy someone to pick on. So yeah,
I don't know.
And
but
we are just kidding. There,
yeah,
there is no pecking order.
yeah,
Anybody
no,
is welcome.
I have to
but
be
no,
careful. My parents and my daughter were all Navy, so my son-in-law is Marine, and
yeah.
my ex is a Air Force, and it's just we're just all over the place there.
I spent my first trip to Afghanistan. For about a third of that trip, half our team were Navy SEALs, so I can't pick on them too
Yeah.
hard.
Navy SEALs.
Yeah. Um, but no, we told them, after a few days out in the woods, they look just like SF guys. They just can't shoot, carry a
Yeah.
load, or drive a vehicle. But
And then
yeah,
along with doing the meetings with the guys, we have SOPs, and we share
yeah,
SOPs with people, and we do
right,
SOPs for all the all the positions. So not only driver, but if you're going to be fueler, fireman, radio comms, whatever
yeah,
the position might be, we do not let our drivers just be drivers.
Right.
We want them to be part of the team, and so they know going into it that they're going to play a part in every pit stop. So everybody's a part of every pit stop that we do. Anytime we're working on the car, the whole nine
yeah.
yards.
And
But yeah,
for
moving
and
on.
and for you, uh, what do you call those guys? Coast Guard guys out there. SOP is standard operating procedure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Air Force guys, that's your checklist.
Yeah,
So
checklist.
Yeah.
yeah, but
Grease pencils and all.
moving back to the race week, we always encourage everybody that's going to be traveling through the Central Missouri area to the race to stop over Tuesday or Wednesday and stay here at the house. And let's see, Tuesday night, all work, any projects we have going on the car, they stop. Car gets buttoned up, wheels put back on it, and a final cleaning. I'm sure this is pretty much like everybody
Yeah.
else. Wednesday is loadout day. Rebecca still works her day job. I spend the day getting her ready to get her trailer staged, get her gear to where she can load it in the trailer. I'm not allowed to load gear in the trailer.
Nope.
Only Rebecca loads gear in the trailer, but she's got a method.
Yeah.
Um, Trailer gets loaded, and then before we, sorry, we have a puppy here.
That's all right.
Yeah. Um, uh, if people haven't seen us, we're a low budget team. We open tow the car behind my Toyota Tacoma, and we use Rebecca's GMC to pull a support trailer. So get the support trailer loaded. Then before we go to bed Wednesday night, we load the car on the open trailer, cover it up, and get ready to roll out Dark 30 on Thursday.
Well, okay. So, what roles do the veterans and first responders take on? Are they driving immediately? Are they crewing, or both, or do they have a choice?
The we call it the point of the exercise is to get people in the car on the track. Now, people have shown up that say they didn't have an interest in driving, didn't think they wanted to experience that, but they want to be part of the team. Um, every time this has been tried, it's failed. They always wind up in the car at some point and in a race. But yeah, people will show up and just want to crew after seeing it. Of course, eventually move to being a driver. But when they're not driving, they have a dedicated crew position, whether it's fueler, crew chief, mechanic, tire changer, brake changer. Which you guys seen us know we go
We
through
go through a lot of breaks.
go through a lot of brakes. It's a heavy
It's a big
car.
car.
Yeah, yeah, it's big. It's 3,000 pounds, 108-inch wheelbase. So she goes through some brakes. But everybody has a position. If there's something they're not comfortable with, we run across people that don't know how to mechanically how to do things. We get them in there and oversee them, and by the end of the weekend, they're doing stuff. They're changing oil, changing brake pads, changing tires.
So, you talked about it a little bit earlier, but how does the immersive nature of endurance racing help break through the symptoms of PTSD and depression?
I think it's that teamwork and camaraderie. A lot of times that's what's been missing since they separated from the military. The great thing about the signal chats that we start is those usually continue. There's just a bond that's made that
Yeah,
weekend during the race, and those guys will stay in communication. As a matter of fact, we just had some guys from last year all reach out, and they all want to come to the same race again this year. So
very cool.
yeah, it's been really good. They just that teamwork, that camaraderie, getting that brotherhood, sisterhood back together.
You've talked about that in the past when you've been on our show, and I got it, but I didn't. I forgot about it. It's hard to explain, but I joined a munitions. I was ammo when I was in the Air Force. I joined a munitions group on Facebook, and I found guys that I was in the Air Force with, and it was just this camaraderie. It's like we never left. It was just boom, back to 1983 and, RAF Lakenheath and F-111s and lots of bombs of all types. And, it's just talking about those old days, and it was just kinda cool and fun.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter if your story was shared with the people that you're talking to. It's just that shared experience of the
Yeah.
military, and it's just it is And I worked with the military for a very long time, but I was never active duty myself.
She
But it
was
is so much fun to sit back and just watch these guys swap stories.
Well, can
So
you
yeah,
can you share a story or 2 of the participants whose life has, significantly been impacted by their involvement with the follow-on mission?
yeah, I think
Maybe.
Texas. Want to talk about him?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, we've got an individual that actually his mental health care provider found us on the internet and referred him to us. And he's one of the guys that showed up. He just wanted to meet some guys and have a group to talk to again. And he progressed through the program. He's going to be a repeat driver with us, but showed up to crew a couple times. Rebecca I believe, NCM last year,
Yeah, I was like,
test and
okay,
tune
I know
day.
you don't want to race, but it's test and tune day. You need to get out in the car. So we got him out in the car. Come to find out, as he's pulling the car out of the garage, and he was just a level of nervous that I hadn't quite seen in anybody else.
Right.
And I don't know what even prompted me to ask the question. But I'm like, have you ever driven a manual transmission? And he said, not in real life, only in Sims.
So
Oh, that's a big,
It
yeah.
was
That's
awesome. He did
yeah,
great. He did great. And then he came out to another race and raced with us. So,
so yeah,
hey,
but Brandon had,
we've had people driving through the parking lot on Friday learning how to drive a stick. So
yep.
there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it happens to a lot of folks nowadays. Now, if this had happened in, the 60s or 70s or even the 80s, we would have what's wrong with you? But nowadays there's just not enough stick cars out there, or they
Right.
just don't we just don't have enough people driving them.
Exactly.
yeah, yeah,
But he
and
was a real success story because he came from his provider. He had a suicide attempt, and anyway, he's just a huge success story. And of course, we can't take all the credit for him, but I think the experience helped. We give him that team back, and we stay in good contact with him. And yeah, we'll be seeing him again this fall.
so
So excited
yeah,
about
we
that.
do. When he asked if he could do some of our graphic stuff and provide us some media products, we knew we had our hooks into him, and he was probably going to be a keeper and stick with the program, and
Yeah.
he has.
Too cool. All right. So what kind of feedback have you received from participants or their families?
The families are probably Rebecca gets a lot of word back about the families and from the individuals, the effect it's had on the family. I will say, I'm not going to point any names out, but the guys that came from a similar background as mine, not a single one has gotten out of the car after their first stint with a dry eye.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and that's kind of the coolest thing. It's
Yeah.
you see the emotion with these guys, and for me, is actually I think it was Champ Car's first race at Ozark. That was back in
Yep.
22. We were actually at that race in a borrowed car. We were still building Athena, and borrowed a BMW from some friends. Had a guy who was prior Marine, and he's currently on the local SWAT team, and. He was a little bit nervous the first couple of days, and I was a little concerned that maybe this proof of concept's not there. Maybe it worked for AJ and not for everybody else. But when he got out of the car on Sunday, he was grinning from ear to ear, and his wife and daughter were both there, and they came up to me in tears afterwards, and they were like, "We haven't seen him smile like this in 3 years," and I'm like, "That was the exact
Yeah.
same experience that I had with AJ back in Texas."
That's
So
too
yeah.
cool. So, all right. So, how is the follow-on mission funded, and how can people help support it?
It's very grassroots. It's all the small donations. Everybody that can see value in what we're doing and making those donations. I got to give kudos to my family. They have definitely stepped up, and they've seen the change in AJ, and they know that we have a mission and a purpose. And I just, man, we've had so many people. Just it truly is. It's those $20, $50, $100 donations. It's what adds up and makes it work for us. We don't have any big, partners or
Right.
sponsorships, so to speak. We've got some people that have definitely donated parts and things like that. It's been tremendous. But yeah, it's
uh,
mom and pop stuff.
yeah, as far as donor cohorts, when you start looking at groups of people, the single largest donor cohort we have is the Champ Car family. Um, it comes from cash being slipped into our coffee fund to anonymous parts that show up, such as happened today.
Too
A couple
cool.
people, couple people saw me during the shutdown, illegally working on the EC car last Sunday. um, like Jimmy said, what am I going to do? Kick him to EC?
Yeah. Exactly.
But we have a problem on this car. It's got a 9-inch Ford rear end, but the bearing retainer bolts, just a lateral load on them. We haven't found one that won't stretch. And I was changing those out Sunday, and some people noticed that. And today I had a set of oversized grade 8 axle bearing retainer bolts show up in the mail
Oh,
today.
wow.
That's awesome. I didn't
Very
And
know about
cool.
that.
yeah,
That's great.
yeah, and Bill, it's stuff like that from the
Yeah.
Champ Car family.
Yep.
That's yeah, it's publicly funded. Rebecca's family, they go above and beyond to keep the guys out there on the track. Um, but yeah, it's just the mom and pop and Champ Car family keep us out there on the weekends.
Yep.
So, what does your team need now? Volunteers, donations, equipment? All
Yes.
the
Yeah,
above?
all the above. What we're looking for, Bill, is we're looking for marquee sponsors. Somebody that wants to. We need a bigger tow rig. We're adding a second car. We would like for somebody to step in and say, "Hey, I want that second car. Put my wrap on it, and I'll buy the safety gear to get it on the track." Things like that. But the small donations go into our Amazon gift list off the website. That's what we need. That's what we keep going. And of course, if somebody wants to be a marquee sponsor with a wrap truck and trailer and their own race car that they can take to corporate events, we can provide that for them as well.
Yeah,
Um,
we are looking, and we would love to be able to do some of the races that are a little bit further away. But with
Daytona,
us
yeah,
open, yeah, like Daytona. But with us open towing, we're limited on how far AJ
Right,
and I drive, in one stint.
right.
And so having an enclosed trailer that would carry both race cars and a rig to pull it, that would be phenomenal.
yeah, and I'm sure at some point we'll find the
Yeah,
individual or the entity that wants to do that. I think we would be as far as protecting their brand, I think they'd have trouble finding someone that would beat us. That's protecting the brand, and that includes everyone involved with Champ Car. That's one of our two major tenets that we
yeah,
that we are always stouting. Um, yeah, we'd like to do that, but please, Champ Car family, please keep doing what you're doing.
Well,
We're very grateful.
yeah.
I like what how you have your website sorted out with the store where you can buy parts like buy an oil change,
Yeah,
buy this, buy that, and instead of having to just you're doing something good because all that stuff you do need to go racing.
yeah, yeah. We have our operational expenses account for what, almost 97% now.
Yeah, I think it's 96.6%
Yeah,
of every dollar donated goes straight into getting the car on the track and getting drivers in the seat. So yeah, we have the little amount of overhead we have is things like the website
Right.
and that kind of stuff.
yeah. Your donation's not going to go to buying us cool jackets or better t-shirts. It's going to go.
Yeah, no, and I got to say kudos to our board of directors. The board of directors, when they come out, they pay all their own expenses, their own hotel, everything. None of that comes out of the follow-on mission
Oh,
fund.
cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you donate and say, hey, this goes for a pair of gloves, it goes for a pair of gloves.
That's too cool.
Yeah.
All right. What are your goals for the next year or two with the program?
Next year or two, go ahead. Second car.
I would love to see a second car. We'll see what happens. You know,
Weren't you guys working on one?
we are.
Yeah.
We have a '97 Honda Civic that was donated to us. We've got the roll cage in it. We're trying to balance right now. I want the funds to be able to put Athena on the track because we've got 4 more races that we want to do with you all this year. So that's where our focus is. But
Well,
we've had a few Honda parts show up, so we're kind of
Yeah.
excited about that
Well,
too.
Yeah.
since every mom has a Honda in her front yard or backyard or something like that, what do you need for the Honda?
It's a for the Honda guys. I believe they call it an EK Civic 97 EX Coupe. The only thing we're doing to it, Bill, is intake, exhaust, and a 5 lug conversion.
I
So
mean,
that's like
engine's got to be
6,000 horsepower, though, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It's like 120. Engine does need to be gone through. It's got low compression on 2 cylinders. Um,
Okay, 5,000.
yeah, but yeah, just 5 lug conversion. I think the Integra parts
Yeah.
I believe, are bolt on. Gives you 5 lug and rear disc brakes. That's all we're doing to it performance wise.
I'm excited to have this beginner car because, like you said,
Yeah,
there's some guys that haven't driven a manual
yeah,
transmission, and,
Yeah.
and throwing it
but
into driving a 4-speed Buncy transmission is not ideal.
No.
So having a beginner car would be awesome.
there is a small cohort of people out there in the world that don't need or want 400 foot-pounds of torque on a wet track.
No.
Uh,
No.
I think they're wrong, but they exist.
I know. Sitting in the tower, I can tell you they're probably right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Are we talking about turn 11?
I'm not going to say nothing.
Okay. No, I will say, I'm not going to say who it was, but the spin last weekend, turn 11, that was an individual that didn't get test and tune time and had never driven a race. So,
Well, he did all
uh,
right. Just,
yeah,
that's a hard corner to take at
yeah,
speed. And, all of a sudden you look at that wall coming at you and that's a little scary.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but
So,
he didn't. Considering he's only driven one other time, and it was just in test and tune, and it's never been wheel to wheel racing before. So I think he did great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he did. He did
And I'm
fine.
going to say it was my brother.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
that's all
yeah,
right.
I thought we were going to mention who it was. Yeah, we'll go ahead and mention. John has done things for us as far as his time and resources that he's poured into this program that are above and beyond. When he's at a race, we always have him on the driver's roster just in case something happens and a vet can't make it or can't make his second day. And that's exactly what happened at Gingerman. We had a driver became ill Sunday. Um, just his sister was with him, and they just
Yeah,
said, "Hey, it's
just couldn't do this
yeah,
last
it's
stint.
it's not going to be safe to put him in the car." So it's all right, John. Suit up. Car stays on the track. It's your turn. I don't know if he was ready or expecting it, but that's just the
Oh
way it
yeah,
happened.
yeah. We
Has Rebecca got to race yet?
John and I actually split that
Yeah,
stint. It
Oh,
was a
okay.
90-minute stint,
yeah.
and John took 45 minutes, and I took 45 minutes.
Um,
So that's the first time that I've been wheel to wheel, I think, in 2 years. Because I usually do test and tune. I usually do the last session of test and tune just to make sure everything shakes out okay
Right.
for the day. But I don't normally drive on race weekends.
yeah,
But so I was pretty happy to get
yeah. I
45
was
minutes in.
as team captain. I always have Rebecca on the driver roster as well, just for that specific purpose. Somebody can't make their last stint. Um, but Rebecca normally will convince another driver to go back out and take a second stint. She's
Yeah,
very,
that's
very,
usually what I try to
she,
do.
Right.
she's very hesitant to get in the car because the point of the car and the program is to put vets in there,
Right.
and just can't convince Rebecca that she's paid her dues to get some track time.
No, I'm good with testing too. It's
So
all good.
so who has been your fastest driver?
Oh no.
Was it an Air Force guy? Pilot?
Did we just
Hey,
lose power? Bill, can you hear us?
Huh?
Did we lose all power?
I don't know.
Or is it just a Wi-Fi?
No, you're there. I can hear you.
I'll text him real quick.
Yeah,
I don't know what
I
happened.
got you. Did we lose you?
that's weird. Well, this just
Funny.
well,
We have some technical issues, possibly.
Hey, Bill, if he can still hear us, we'll be right back with you. Go to
here, I'll let you do it.
okay.
Come on, go outside. Let's go outside.
Wi-Fi's good.
This is live.
Bill will be right back
Yep.
here. We just lost power.
Oh, we can hear you perfect. Oh, they had it plugged into a television. That's why their TV went down and
Bill, are you
probably
there?
can't hear us. Yep, I'm here. Let me get them on Messenger real quick. Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, Bill can hear us.
Interesting. Wonder what happened.
Okay, and let me switch this to Zora Matrix.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you now.
Yeah, we got
Okay,
you now. I'm not
cool.
sure what happened.
Well, you probably lost the TV and you lost the speaker.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly what
That's why.
happened.
Yeah.
So, okay, we're
Well,
back
now
up
that
now.
now that we have you back, and this is, I'm just gonna put this up as is. I don't need to edit it.
Yeah,
We did that along the road. Jimmy
yeah.
talking to me on the CB radio. That was always fun.
Yeah.
Let's see, where were we? Let's see. How can someone get involved, either as a veteran, first responder, or participant, or as a supporter?
Um,
Website's the easiest
Yeah.
way. There's a nomination form, or there's just a contact us form.
Yeah.
Just reach out to us on the website, and then you'll get an email back
Yeah.
from us pretty quick,
um,
or phone call.
yeah, if you track us down through Facebook, we do have, you can use my personal account, AJ Jackson, which is the most active, or the Follow On Mission Facebook account. We will answer your messages. That usually results in exchanging phone numbers in a phone call. Email is fine if you prefer something, with some time delay and not. As a vet, I can tell you phone calls can be tough for us. So, email is fine, message is fine. If you don't want to do a phone call, that's fine. If you do, hey, I'll talk to you on the phone. Once you make that initial contact, Bill, we will maintain contact through whatever means that the individual prefers out there.
Very cool. Very cool. And then what's the website address? And we'll have it in the show notes too.
It's so that's the thing most people forget is the word the. It's thefollowonmission.org. Just
All
like
one
it's
word.
all one word, no hyphen in follow on. Typically that It does have a hyphen in it, but not for the
Right.
website. So it's thefollowonmission.org.
And you guys are a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
And
we are
any donations are tax deductible. Is that the way it works?
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes. And as long as
Yeah,
somebody gives me their name and their email address, I will get you a
yeah,
donation receipt.
yeah. We are so nonprofit, it hurts at time, Bill. So,
Oh, I know, man. I've worked for nonprofits for a very long time. So,
yeah.
tell us a little about your little blue car there, man.
Oh,
It's raced this year at NCM and at Gingerman.
yeah, that is my second favorite topic to talk about. Me being the first, but yeah. So this car actually has a little bit of story
It's got a lot of story
that I
behind
tell
it.
too much. But anyway, this was my high school hot rod. It's 1978. I bought it in 1986. Paid $650 for it. Drove it through high school. When I went to the military, the parents they said you are absolutely not taking that car with you. So I bought a new Pontiac Grand Am with a D-Trag 5-speed and a quad 4 in it. The original before Oldsmobile released it. It
Yep.
was the 210 horsepower one. Um, why they thought that was a better choice than leaving me just have my little V8 Malibu, I'd have no idea. But anyway, it wound up eventually got out of the military, messed with it for a year or two, and it wound up. I went back active duty military for 20 plus years, and it sat in my mom's pasture under a cedar tree.
Oh, wow.
So yeah,
Where
champ.
there was not
Did
much left of
Yeah,
it.
Oh,
uh,
okay. I was gonna say, did it rust away or
yeah. It had some crash damage in it that was a lot more significant than I thought when I bought it. A lot more bondo with rust developed behind
yeah.
it. Floorboards were gone. Um, So we were looking at Hondas, and once we decided we weren't going to go racing, we were going to form the follow-on mission and take vets and military and first responders racing. We wanted a car that was going to have a little bit more of a visceral feel to it. We decided instead of the Honda or the E30, want something that's going to look different, sound different, and provide, I won't say a violent ride, but something that was going to be not hard to handle, but very dynamic and exciting on the track. So
It's got a giggle factor.
yeah, it had to have a giggle
Yeah.
factor to it. So
Torque makes it fun.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
for
it
sure.
just expanded. I wanted just to put a 350, just a basically GBU's motor, um, just the L82 350 with a Muncie 4-speed transmission, and F class didn't exist back then. So we were just looking at a very, moderate to low performance D class car that was going to look neat and sound good. And talking to the board of directors, it's like, do we really want to race D class and get out there and maybe hurt somebody else that's actually chasing points and going for a national championship? We thought, no, that kind of goes against everything we're trying to do here. We want to be a value added presence wherever we go. And getting in the middle of somebody's race with some brand new guys is not the way to do that. So we thought, well, just sign up in EC, and if we go to EC, then that opens up. We can go to an engine that's a little cheaper to run, a lot less expensive to purchase. So we decided, hey, we'll go ahead and do the LS conversion that everybody and their brother's doing right now. So we put a pickup truck motor in it, 99. I forgot what they call them, LR4,
Yeah.
or I forgot all the numbers, but it's a 5.3 out of a 99 pickup truck. Because the way the
Okay.
swap calculator works for 70s GM products, you can't really swap engines on those cars. But hey, we're in
Well,
EC.
because those pickup truck motors are well known for doing almost 200 miles an hour
Yeah,
at
exactly. Yeah,
Talladega.
yeah, and it was like if you look at GBU's car from the factory with that L82, that was rated at I think 170 horsepower.
Yeah.
Um, I've looked up the way GM got that number, and that was SAE net. That was base timing, I believe, of 6 degrees and max timing of like 24. And I'm sure I don't think there's
Right.
many dealerships that let those cars leave the dealership at those settings, but that's what GM had to get that
Right.
horsepower rating down. But that's the number that's out there. And you go to a 1999 pickup truck, and they started with a V8 with a 5.3 at I think 270. So on
Right.
paper, that's a 100 horsepower jump. Um, it's not exactly correct, but that's what's published, and that's what we go with. Um, so, hey, if you're listening, if you're Champ Car, I am not petitioning to get in D class. I'm just telling you why we're in EC.
Yeah,
um,
no, that's see, I wondered that, and that's actually a really good reason,
yeah,
to be
people
an EC.
people put EC cars down. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go finish putting the parts together for the L82 we were going to put in it, take the suspension off, put it in D class, and run the exact same times or
Whoop.
better than we are, or go get some drivers with experience. So, but no, we want to stay out of everybody's way. That's the primary reason we're in EC. The car eventually, it's get back to that. Yeah, okay, so we've got an LS swap. Well, if we're going to do that, why don't we cut the firewall out and move it back a little farther?
That's always a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we moved it back 15 inches, and
Yeah.
that that had some engineering
Yeah.
challenges to
So,
it.
so we slid the engine back 15 inches. And of course, okay, then you got to make a new cross member. And then you got to get a SFI certified drive shaft from Strange Engineering. And it just escalated. UMI heard what we were doing, kind of stopped us on a couple things and say, hey, we will help you with some things if you will run our parts at a much discounted price. And they
Yeah, they
basically
helped us
they,
tremendously.
they
Right.
basically said, what's the car going to weigh? What engine? Okay, stop everything you're doing and give us a couple days to figure this out for you.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
That's
so
too cool.
yeah, it was cool. Yeah, parts wise, it's a 99 5.3 steel motor, Muncie close ratio transmission, and Ford 9-inch rear end. Weight on the car, last time we weighed it was 2960. With a driver in it, that's without the driver. With the driver in it, it comes, 2960
Yeah.
plus a driver and 50-50 weight balance.
Yeah. And
So,
all drivers weigh about 140 pounds. So
it's weird, but almost all our drivers weigh 170 or less. We get a guy that's active duty that still has a size to him, but as
oh
far as
wow.
drivers, we're just about the smallest weight team out there in ChampCar, I think.
I can fix that in 3 seconds.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know. Mikey was a bigger dude. Mikey was here there in
yeah.
Gingerman,
Mikey's still in the
and
guard though.
what's that?
Mikey's still he's still in the guard. He's getting ready to go on a
Oh yeah, I
combat
guess he
deployment.
is
So
active. Yeah. So
Oh,
yeah. So the
yeah.
active duty guys tend to be a little bit bigger
yeah,
than the
Yeah.
retired guys or guys
yep.
that got out.
JC still has some size to him. He's
Yeah.
still active, but
Yeah.
But they're usually pretty big guys too, working out,
Yeah.
yeah,
hauling those packs all over the place.
Exactly.
yeah, the guys that are still active or guard are still pretty big. Retired guys like me and Nick, there's just not much left of us anymore, Bill. We're
Yeah,
just,
I
we're
know.
just yeah, we're just wasting away.
Yeah, it happens, so or you just get bigger.
Yeah, yeah.
So the car, how'd you guys do it? You race it at NCM with us, right?
That was
Not this year. That was
yeah,
last
yeah.
year.
Oh, that
Ginger,
wasn't last year. Yeah, that was
yeah.
last year. So how did you guys do at Gingerman this year?
Gingerman, we had a good race. You look at our lap times, not that incredible. We were
New drivers.
yeah new drivers, but we
Good.
averaged 6 seconds a lap faster than last year. So made some changes to the car. We
Car's
actually,
faster.
yeah, car's faster. We softened the car up, and that made it. We wound up picking up 6 seconds. Average time was 6 seconds a lap faster this year. Overall results, we were I don't know, in the 20s.
I don't even
It's
know,
still
honestly.
pretty good, man,
Yeah,
especially with guys that don't spend their time racing
right.
and
Yes.
Yeah,
you're out there with a different mission than to
yeah,
actually win the race.
yeah. And people say, well, yeah, I've seen people say, "Hey, you guys are just out there making laps in everybody's way." It's like if we're in your way, all you got to do is walk down to the pit and say, "Hey, this guy's in my way," and we'll make it so he's not in your way, up to and including pulling him out of the car.
Well, wait a second. Wait a second. Okay, we're in a race.
Yeah,
Everybody's in my way
exactly.
because I'm trying to get around them.
Yeah, but
If
I
you
will.
can't get around them, you need to figure out another
Yeah,
way to get around them.
but yeah, everybody passed a car out there. Someone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Um, I won't mention what model it was, but I even caught and passed a Porsche.
Oh yeah. You
Yeah,
did.
so pretty proud of
Yeah, those
that.
are always fun.
Yeah, yeah,
Especially the guys that were driving that. Those, one of those guys used to be my top driver.
yeah, and,
Yeah.
and
I tell you, I
The guy
think
that
the
owns the car, actually.
yeah,
Mike Helm, you let a American car pass you? Come
and
on, man.
boy, Rebecca's got something to say. But for the pitchfork people out there against the whatever the flavor of the week is,
Oh yeah.
Boxster, Honda Accent, GBU. Okay, I passed a race prepped Boxster in a 1978 Malibu in the twisty part of the track.
Well, now, mind you, they may have dropped, their ice cream or something on the floor, and they were
Could
Right.
just
have, could
picking
have,
it
yeah,
up, and
yeah.
you know,
Spilled their macchiato,
yeah, the macchiato, exactly.
Yeah. Things happen. I understand that.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I actually, I don't think they had brakes. I think they ran out of brake pads, so that's
yeah,
probably not a good thing to go really fast.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah,
I assume they were probably either testing or working on an issue, but hey, it still happened. I'm going to
yeah,
claim it. Yeah,
yeah.
But
We'll
I
get
think
Mike
the
on here. I'll get Mike on here one day, and we'll ask him. Hey, why'd you get passed by by an old '70s car, man. What's up?
Yeah, yeah,
I think the best compliment we got at Gingerman though is that we had three different race teams come up to us and tell us, thank you for the point buys because we do coach all our guys up on, be predictable, hold your race line, but make room and give them point buys. If you're going to go wide, tell them to take the inside,
yeah,
or
Yeah.
whatever.
yeah.
So we had three teams come up and say
Um,
thanks for the point buys.
yeah,
So
with
Well,
with
I'm sitting up in the tower, and one of the things that Chelsea and I watch for, and all of us we watch for, is like, are they are they being predictive out there? The corner workers will let us know if they're not being predictive, especially with guys that are a little off pace from the leaders.
yeah,
So, we don't get any replies back from you guys. Hey, how's that blue car out there? And a lot of guys want to know, hey, where is that car right now? Because it's pretty
yeah.
damn cool.
Yeah, always good to hear. Some of the things we teach the drivers is on a point buy. When you give somebody a point buy, we encourage them to do that, but realize that you own that pass. That pass
Yeah,
is no longer on the passing car. You give a point buy, you're now taking responsibility for that pass, and it's your responsibility to make sure they get through clean. Something else is this comes into my leadership development training I do with folks, but that's empathy. Think about the guy behind you coming up on this big old blue car. The one thing that driver wants to do is maintain his momentum. So do that. Protect the car behind you. Protect their momentum. Um, and I think that's one of the biggest things you could do. Be predictable. Protect the passing car's momentum. Don't make them lose their drive.
yeah.
And
I don't know. I'm of that era that, there's no crying in baseball and there's no
yeah, yeah,
passing in racing or
right,
point
yeah,
buys in racing.
yeah, yeah. We don't want anybody to get a bad taste in their
But
mouth.
no, I get it. I do get it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Um,
Cool.
yeah, and by the same, by this, it doesn't happen nearly as much. But when we catch a slower car, we get the same courtesy back to us,
Yeah.
and we get a lot of waves and thumbs up by the faster teams out there. And
yeah.
man, it makes
You
us
know,
feel good.
if I saw that big old thing looking through the Opel GT's mirror, I'd move it off into the grass.
Yeah,
That's how
yeah,
far.
yeah. We did. It's got the factory 5 mile per hour bumpers on it with the
Yes.
reinforcement plates.
Yeah. And I would see those through the back window of my car.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well,
So
you guys got any sponsors or friends you want to
yeah,
thank?
but we've got a friend that does. He takes care of all the graphics for us on the cars. That is Brian Zhang, and it's not the new name. Sign Dimensions in Rolla, Missouri. Just a friend I want to mention because he does a lot of work for us. Takes asks nothing for it, but I think all race teams know how difficult and expensive graphics can be.
Yeah, and especially on the trunk, I don't know if you've probably seen it, and a lot of people have. We have a wall of honor on our
Yep.
trunk,
Yep.
Yeah,
so he helps keep that
yeah.
updated for us.
Um, as far as the big industry related people, UMI helps us out. Now, for the teams out there saying, "Oh, UMI, I want them to sponsor me." UMI doesn't give us free parts. They give us heavily discounted parts, and the discount we get depends on how business is for them at the time.
Yeah.
They give
Right.
us what they can afford to give as far as discounts. But I talked to him today. Said, "Hey, we're going to be on the mighty Inside ChampCar podcast once again. What do you want to talk about?" And UMI asked me to mention that they have a transmission mount for the G bodies. That's the Malibus, Cutlasses, GMR cars that are same size as Athena, the Malibu, 108-inch wheelbase metric GM cars. But they have a adjustable transmission if you want to do something crazy, like put a
Oh,
Tremec or
cool.
a Muncie in your G body car. They've got a transmission mount, part number 3108. And guys, what this is a cross member with holes drilled in it that you can slide back and forth in your frame to put that weird transmission that was never intended to be in your car.
Yep.
Oh, cool.
So it's kind of a neat part, and it's very inexpensive, and it's pretty cool.
Very
So
cool.
yeah, always got to mention UMI, Bill. Not just
Yeah.
the discount on parts, but the coaching and advice they give us. They kept us from doing really horrible,
Making bad decisions.
making badder, making badder
Wait.
decisions when we built
Yeah.
this car. They stepped in, stopped me, um, ran some numbers, and told me what I should do versus what I wanted to do on the car, and
Yeah.
we thank them for that.
I like that. They said, "Stop what you're doing. Stop what you're
Yeah,
doing now."
stop, put the grinder down, step away from the car. I'm going to call you back in 48 hours. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I
so
did a project like that decades ago, and it was just like, I think I'm doing really good, and then once I get it back together, I went to look online to see what the feedback was, and it was basically like that, "Stop what you're doing and let us show you how to
Yeah,
do this
yeah,
right." Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
fun times.
yeah,
Alright, guys, I think that's it for today. Thank you for joining us. I know this was, pretty quick. We kinda planned this last week, but I had some issues, but,
yeah.
we're able to get that taken care of, and, thank you for joining
Oh,
us
thank
here this
you.
afternoon.
We
Always a
really
pleasure,
appreciate
Bill.
it. Yep.
And, we're using some new technology now to record this, so hopefully it sounds good and works. If so, we'll continue to use it. So thank you, Adobe.
Yeah, yeah.
Alright. That's
Upcoming
good.
guest, you can't
It
ask
was
for.
easy for you to hook up to it though, right? You
Yeah,
just
yeah,
clicked and
yeah,
boom,
for
done.
upcoming guest, this is the easiest platform.
Yep, by
I
Yeah.
far.
I I wound up, from a social media post on LinkedIn a while back, I wound up, on some podcast I hadn't intended,
Yeah.
and, man, this is by far the easiest thing I've ever
Yeah.
used. I've
Yeah.
done several
We'll
meetings.
see what it sounds like later, so that's gonna be the big
Yeah,
Yeah,
the big
yeah,
thing.
for sure.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Inside Champ Car. Huge thanks to AJ and Rebecca Jackson for sharing their story and giving us a front row seat to the powerful work that they're doing through the follow on mission. If you want to learn more, support their efforts, or get involved, head over to thefollowonmission.org. Again, that's thefollowonmission.org. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. Share this episode with your team, crew, or anyone else who loves racing with a purpose. I'm Bill Strong, and we'll see you next week right here on Inside Champ Car.